This is the Bar Stewards Enquiry.
You're talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I'd saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
Well, that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that...
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
And a good evening and welcome to the Bar Stewards Enquiry Weekend Podcast. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and joining me this evening for this weekend's fair, if we get through it, of course, with all this terrible weather around, terrible windy weather, hopefully we'll get through, no power cuts, no things falling on our heads. First guest tonight, John Leng of John Joe's Blogspots. Good evening, John.
Evening, Lee. My day's got off to a bad start already. I was going to have a game of golf with Michael Fabricant and Rich Ritchie, and neither of the fuckers turned up.
I've heard Fabricant's air's off to Iceland at the minute, but
he's walking around in a balaclava at the minute. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. So anyway, right. Joining me also tonight on this brilliant panel are to bring the sense back from nonsense is Andy Richmond. Good evening, Andy.
Good evening, mate. I'm still chuckling at John's comment there. Though I did visit my 90-year-old neighbour today and ask if she needed anything from the shop. Turns out she did. So I gave her my list too, because there was no point in both of us going out in this weather.
That's the community spirit. That's what we like to see. Everyone digging in. And certainly last but not least is paddock guru and professional punter Adam Norman. Good evening, Adam.
Good evening, Lee. Good evening, chaps.
Yeah, good evening. And we set fair for this, well, can we say, rather disjoint or could be disjointed Saturday. Haydock are involved in a precautionary inspection in the morning at 8 a.m. Wincanton, I think half the trees and stands have come down. They're hoping to clear that off during the night. They'll be working hard to get that going tomorrow. So we're going to do our best to give you our best of the best bets this weekend. And without further ado, I think we'll get straight on with it. So, chaps, I'm going to come to you, Adam Norman, for your third best bet of the day, please.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stick to what I know this weekend and stick to the horses. With so many runners, I'm going to stick to the horses that I've seen this year. One of which has taken my twice is a horse that's running in the 4:10 at Ascot called Guerlain de Vaux, trained by Oliver Sherwood. He's won 2 titles. The first time I saw him was Market Raisin. Put a confident bet I had on a horse called Lounge Lizard. And then he came up to Catterick and then won a narrow margin, miles. I like this horse. He reminds me of a horse that Sherwood trains called Jersey Bean, who quickly reached a decent level of form over hurdles, and then had a couple of years in the wilderness before coming back and turning into a nailing good handicap chaser. I think this is a similar type, cost a few quid for the Million in Mind partnership. He looks a very professional horse for one that's only had a couple of runs over hurdles. They've thrown him into open handicap company here. I just like the fact that he's just going to keep grinding, keep galloping, keep jumping. I think 121 is a perfectly fair opening mark, and in a race that may not be quite as competitive as the numbers suggest, I think he's a fairly decent bet there. Guerlain de Vaux.
Interesting race, yeah. Guerlain de Vaux for Oliver Sherwood. Oliver Sherwood not been in the best of health in recent times, but he is on the mend. So fingers crossed for a big run for that. Adam, are you thinking win or each way here? What is your pleasure?
There's only so much space for each way wankers on this show, Lee.
There's a few of us on here. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a win only chap. So yeah, stick that up your pipe.
Love it. So straight on the noggin. Ghislaine Deveux for Adam Norman, 1 point win in the 410 at Ascot. And here come the each way wankers. This is like Stuart Hall. Here come the each way wankers playing their jokers. Here they come. So I'll come to the each way wankers now, Andy Richmond.
And I've been described as a few things, but never that before. But hey ho, let's. I must admit, I did enjoy the curling today. Before we get on to that,
Fantastic.
Good luck to both of our teams
Yes.
tomorrow, men's and women's. We're in the final. I reckon they could use with some of those sweepers in racing, didn't they? Because they could sweep even more shit under the carpet then.
Definitely. The BHA and Jockey Club, they'd be on top money there.
Curling sweepers, and they would be right under it. There'd be a massive big pile under both of their carpets then. That was my main thought running through here. But we're going to Ascot for the 1 pointer, and there will be no each way wanking either. So we're going to the Betfair Ascot chase. It's been a good guide to the Ryanair, this one, so worth watching out on the road to Cheltenham that we're going to get to before we get to Doncaster, if it hasn't blown away. Yeah. Since the Ryanair was promoted to a Grade 1, 2 of its 14 winners had won the Ascot Chase before. Riverside Theatre and Q-Guard, and 2 other Ryanair winners, Alberta's Run and Fonmo, have finished place in this contest. So it's pretty decent. 8 stand their ground from Monday. Dashel Drasher will be beginning to become the 5th dual winner after a few others, notable names in that as well. It's not impossible that dear old Waiting Patiently won this race 4 years ago could pop up here as well. But Nichols and Henderson are usually the 2 to concentrate on here. That was that Pumpkin and Popeye, affectionately known as on this programme. They've won 3 run-ins apiece. I think St Calvados got absolutely last time out. There's 2 horses in this race who got absolute shockers last time out, one of which was Fanny and Destraval, and the other one who I will probably back in the race as well, and St Calvados, who, I don't know, talking of having one off the wrist, I think Gavin Sheehan definitely shot his bolt too early last time out in the King George, which has been a pretty good guide to this race. And I think now that Nichols is showing signs of life again after the somewhat probably overrated slump, St Calvados, I'm going to have a point on that at around 4 to 1. I would point out that don't leave out Venetia out of this. Her chasers, since the turn of the year, are running at about a 30% strike rate, which is about 7 points, 7 winners above expected, to put the figures in context. But I'll take St Calvados with the change of jockey to beat the Irish challenger here in. What was the name of it? Forgot the name. Fakir Duderie, who hasn't jumped particularly well in his last two runners. Don't get many Irish runners in this, but the last one was Coney Island in 2018. But I will take 7 of the last 19 winners previously ran in the King George, and in St Calvados, who finished 4th. I think he's a pretty fair bet, around 4 to 1 on the nose. No each way wanking.
Love it. So 1 point win on the nose. St Calvados. At I think 4 to 1 available. Yes, 4.
I think
4 to 1. Andy on the nose. Good case made there. Second off the wind up for Pumpkin is Andy's the 3rd best. John, coming to you, please.
No each way wanking from me either.
That makes it change.
It does. You're right. There's an each way wank coming up shortly, so don't worry. I'm not going to disappoint the wank fans.
What have I done?
The 150 at Ascot, I think Fernhill probably bumped into a reasonably handicapped horse in decent form and Grumpy Charlie last time. The ground here should suit. There's a slight question mark over the trip, but I think there's question marks over some key rivals too here. Everything else in the race has gear on. Cheek pieces, tongue ties, you know the drill, except the top one. I don't think that will be suited to the ground anyway. So I think Fernhill is probably a better nothing layouting running, if you like, anyway. But I'm going 1 point win for the purposes of this programme.
Good stuff, Mr. Ben Case and Jack Quinlan. 7 to 1, I believe, John. We're going to give you for that. Yep. For 1 point win on the noggin, Fernhill. And I'm going to go against you for my 3rd best bet. Obviously, same race, 150. And Annual Invictus of Flash Gordon's. 9-2 available at the moment, and that's where the 1 point selection's going. Pieces for the first time, but I just want anyone to watch the last run at Plumpton. If you don't have to back the selection. Just watch down the back straight and watch Tom Cannon down the back straight at Plumpton last time out. It was incredible. You would put it this way: if this had opened up 5-4 and gone out to 5-1. There'd have been a Twitter explosion. I've never seen anything like this. He just literally left the horse alone for the entire back straight, let them quicken away. He ended up getting beat 2.5 lengths to Elixir Nuts. And obviously, form's being franked a little bit. But to me, it was if the bad run at Aintree that came in December where he pulled up. It's as if they just thought, well, let's just get him round, because that's how I felt. I didn't think he didn't come under any pressure to drop the shop in, if you like. The jockey didn't move, so I don't know what the pieces are for. I don't know if it's one for Tom Cannon, a bit of cannon and ball. I mean, it was quite incredible to watch. I mean, after the race, I was in shell shock. I'm thinking he's got beat 2 lengths. He turned in coming up the hill at Plumpton. He must have been 15 to 20 behind turning in at Plumpton, which over 2 miles 3, like I said, it was a very odd effort for either, he might have got back and said the horse just down tools down the back, but there was no effort from the saddle. I want you to watch it anyway, listeners, because that's where my 1 point's going. 9-2, because I believe that possibly could have been a prep for this. Maybe they got this race in mind. I don't know. I've no idea. But that's what I saw with my own eyes, and I just felt it was very, very eye-catching. So Annual Invictus for me is my 1 point win, third best bet. John, I'm coming straight back to you in sort of podcast tennis for your second best bet, please.
Each way wankers can get the Swarfega out right. This, at first glance, seems utterly balmy, to be honest. It's in the 310 at Lingfield. And it's a horse called Royal Aviation, who was run once and was tailed off last.
It's a good sign.
It isn't just. Then you start to dig a bit deeper. This horse bolted on its way to post on debut at Newbury, for which it was only 16-1, which I thought was quite significant given the fact that it was an American Pharaoh running on soft ground in what looked a decent maiden on paper anyway. The horse cost 125k. The fact that he bolted on his way to post, I watched the race back a couple of times. What I really like about this horse is the way he moves. He looks all out, going to be suited to the all-weather. He's got a good attitude when he's actually racing. He puts his head in the right place and everything. The trainer will want to be cracking on with this now. As I say, it was only 16-1 for that maiden. You don't piss about with horses that cost this sort of money. You want to do something for these owners. This isn't a great race at all. I think with the yard being in form as well, I think this is a right nice bet at the 25-1 available each way, a pleasure.
Okie dokie, yeah. Royal Aviation, 25-1 each way, bet 365 at time of recording for John's first each way wank bet.
Can I come in there, Lee, and just give John a little bit of further encouragement, maybe, because the horse is on its first run for Kevin Philippart de Foy, the wonderfully named Kevin Philippart de Foy. With his stable switches, he is actually 7 from 32 for a near 22% strike rate. The percentage runners beaten figures stack up, as does the winners above expected. If you'd have backed them all, you'd have been making a profit at SP. So I always do have a look at his stable switches. So there's a little bit of another tick in the box for Royal Aviation.
And the horse has been gelded since debut as well.
Yeah, good stats, Andy.
An awful lot going for this at the price.
25s then for John for 1 point each way. Royal Aviation, very interesting selection. Backed up by Andy's stats with the good old juice trainer, Philip Artdefoy, in Newmarket, shoving that juice in. Let's have more juice. So good luck with that, John. And I'll come into you, Andy, for your second best, please.
Right, we're going to go to Haydock because I'd actually done quite a lot of work on the card. So, I'm about 10 miles away from Haydock as the crow flies, or we go bloody quick today with the wind behind him. But I think you probably might get away with this tomorrow, but it's going to be a real war of attrition there tomorrow. I'm sure distance buyers will be out in force tomorrow, but we're going to go for the Grand National Trial, which has actually never been won by a horse in the same year. A few decent horses have won it. I mean, you can go back through horses like Alverton, Right Hand Man, Twin Oaks, Cool Ground, Party Politics, Sunny Bay, up until the turn of the century. This doesn't look a bad renewal, to be honest with you. There's quite a few angles you could take into this. You've obviously got the class horse with Bristol de Mai, although the weight slightly worries me with him. Old Black Lion, who's been really good form around here of late, beating up a few veterans and then won a small field fitter last time out. Just think they might. They go a pace up front. I'm going to go with Sam Brown, who made a Royal Pagaille fight really hard in the Peter Marsh last month. The slight worry is that he did have a bit of a hard race there, and he is a fragile sort. 2 of the past 4 winners have actually made the frame in that race, and I think he could have easily been raised a bit more than the £2 that they stuck him up. He's fairly lightly raced for his age. The Honeyball team are in pretty decent form at the moment. So I quite like Sam Brown. He's a bold, safe jumping. That front running, prominent style will really sort him. And I just hope he's over what was a fairly punishing race last time out. And a few of those did have them. You could throw Secret Reprieve into the mixture, but favourites have got a pretty poor record in this race since 2012. A lot of them have been placed. And the other one of interest to me was the Galloping Bear. New kid on the block, Ben Clark's done pretty well. He's got that horse that won at Sandown yesterday, Dr. Kananga. He looks quite a useful tool as well. I was quite impressed with the way he went through yesterday. The Galloping Bear is actually unbeaten over fences after he won the Surrey National, the bittersly named Surrey National last time out over 3-5. He'd be one at a bigger sort of price, but Sam Brown, I'm not going to go each way. I'm saving that. 2 points. On the can have the 6-1 Sam Brown.
You surprised? I thought that was a nap for the nicking the four.
No, he'll either be out the back of the.
I hope Adam Norman.
I shamed him into it, Lee.
As Adam Norman's intimidated you there.
No, don't worry. I've got an each way for him. Don't worry. Just to piss him off. I'm saving it for the 3-pointer.
Oh, boo.
I'm sure he sneaked up to one of those bookmakers on course and had a sneaky each way. I should be asking a few people if he has, probably asking for the extra fractions and the extra place as well.
Yes. So two on the noggin for Andy Richmond.
It's either going to be out the back of the telly or win this. It's one of those. It's one of those bets.
Yeah, 6-1. Well, we'll come on to this race in more depth a little bit later on. But 2.6 to 1, Sam Brown in the Grand National Trial in the 240 at Haydock. Thank you, Andy. So I'm going to come on to mine before we go to Adam for his 2-pointer. And my yes, I am. I'm a wanker. Yes. It's the 225 at Ascot. I'm quite shocked actually at the price of this one because I've gone through the race with a tooth comb and cannot see the reason for it really, because 17-2 available about Caribbean Boy. I think this is like some terrific value, because at Kempton, when he ran at Kempton last time, I wasn't the only one to think this, otherwise he'd have gone off a lot shorter, that the 3 miles might stretch him. And then, to everyone's surprise, he's like powering away on the running. Well, the third's ran well since, got narrowly touched off. Smarty Wild always runs Kempton well. Obviously came a cropper last time after that race. And I thought Caribbean Boy, in a race where nothing really, I don't think, has as much in hand. For example, the likes of Ask Me Early and Hold That Taut, which you have to. Andy gave some stats on Venetia, and that's very well backed. Is this Hold That Taut's track? Because he couldn't get going. He couldn't get going at Chepstow over the 3 miles. He was like really struggling to peg back Ask Me Early. And I even think Ask Me Early in terms of track. Ascot's, even though it's going to be testing ground tomorrow, I think it's a sharp course. And if you're not in that rhythm, it's more of a rhythm track. And if you're not in that rhythm and you miss one out, I think Hold That Taut could really struggle, because he's the type that does need a bit of a absolute slogfest. Yeah, ideally you'd want another 3 or 4 furlongs on the back on the top of this. So I just thought Caribbean Boy, who did beat the Hennessy runner-up Fiddler on the Roof last year, if you remember, over 2.5 at Newbury. And I just think he's been a bit underrated, and that's more. I'm only playing the odds here rather than this is a good thing. 17-2, and each way wanker bet for me, 1 point each way. Yes, and only 3 places though. No special treatment for me. So Caribbean Boy was my second best bet.
Lee, just be careful in that race, because Ask Me Early, that is his second preference as well.
Right.
You just got to be careful with the rule 4 in that. That's his second preference. Sojourn his first preference. So if obviously if Wincanton's on, Wincanton is his first preference. So if that is on, they'll have to run him there unless they want to get a heavy fine.
Well, we're all fiddling the naps table anyway, because Quentin's that far clear that we've got to fiddle.
I've shot him. I've shot him.
So any gifts are welcome. And if anyone notices,
staying clear, they're not bloody coming on, isn't he?
Well, this is it. He's on next week. He's back.
He's protecting his mark. He's running in hurdle races.
I can guarantee you Quentin's back next week. It's like Valentine's weekend last week, all this. A young man in his prime, blah, blah, blah. We're just looking at dinners and what's the best dinner. But Quentin's obviously, it's a different ball game. Literally. Right. Move on to Adam for his second best. Adam, last but not least again.
Right. Yeah.
Each way? Is it each way?
Bring a bit of sense back to proceedings. Having said that, 3:58 at Wincanton. I quite like the shape of this race, with Mr. Glass heading up the market, taking out quite a large percentage in his first handicap after running in the Tolworth last time. I'm going to take him on with a horse called Sizable Sam, who has been disappointing this season, looking all over every inch a chaser when winning a couple of races over hurdles last season, looking quite progressive in doing so. But as I say, slow to get going this year over fences, not really taking to it. Much better last time at Taunton in what was a fairly decent race. I just quite like the fact that Jeremy Scott's in much better form now. And I think he can get back on the up. He's only a few pounds higher than when he was winning at the track 12 months ago, £4 higher. So a horse of his sort of size and scope, I'd be surprised if he isn't £4 better than he was this time last year. He's won 2 and second twice in 4 starts at the track. So we know he goes. We know he likes the going, and he has just dropped back a couple of furlongs from that Taunton 3 miles. I think this is perfect. And as I say, there's quite a bit of dead wood. A horse you tipped a few weeks ago, Stellar Magic, goes in this lead, who flopped in no uncertain terms. So he's got something to prove, as have 1 or 2 others. So Sizable Sam is quite a confident bet, actually, to give Mr. Glass a bit of a dust up. So,
good stuff. No, Sizable Sam. So 7-1 on the noggin. Bet 365. 2 points on the nose. RE Stellar Magic. I mean, it's not the first from Philip Hobbs. I tipped up another of Philip Hobbs at Wincanton. The ex-Stout staying horse. I forget the name of it. Ran at Wincanton. I'd had my absolute balls deep on it, and that won the other day easily at Foss Last, landing a gamble, and it drifted the day I bet it. It's the ship's biscuit pedigree. The John will know it. John, you know that Philip Newton.
Crossing the bar.
That's the one, Crossing the Bar. Sorry, I just forgot
Poet's
the name.
Voice.
Yes, and if you watch at Wincanton, Tom O'Brien, Dirty Tom, held it up last, and he never got going. Pulled up. All of a sudden, they went handy at Foss last, had the lot on, bang.
I quite like they blamed the soft ground at Wincanton and then sent it to Foss.
Sent it to Foss last in deeper mud and absolutely lagged up. And
everything with that bloodline wants it chest deep as well. That's the funny.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And I had the dagger to the heart that day.
This game tames lions, doesn't it? Oh my god!
They shoved it right on me. Maybe because I took the 5s and the 6s the night before.
Oh, they never win.
Yeah. Into like 5-2, then it drifted badly. You know the old thing. But anyway, Sizable Sam is Adam's second best bet. So now it's his best bet times, and we better be on our best behaviour because we've not performed this jump season. And I blame Catherine Fry and Quentin Franks for disappearing. In the last few weeks, terrible behaviour, and so it's left to us poor old chaps on these bad weather weekends to come up with the goods. So I'll kick off the 3 pointers, and this is another classic each way wanker race. The 3 o'clock at Ascot tomorrow, which everyone loves. Everyone loves the 3 o'clock at Ascot because there's only 3 horses can win the race. So what we do is we go each way. Zaccone Rebel, Toby Laws, train runner James Bowen. He's the absolute. He's better than Jim Bowen. Jim Bowen did Bullseye very well, but James Bowen is the better Bowen. And 11-2 available. And look at the generous each way terms on offer. 5 places, 150 odds. But I'm not going to claim that. For Bar Stewards, that's embarrassing, claiming 5. We're going to go for 4 places. Zaccone Rebel, interesting horse. Again, a horse that I've done my bollocks on because when he won at Fontwell, I was on the second Hadex de Zerbo, a very nice horse of Gary Moore's. And they rate this one very highly. I know so because the info, they're aiming this one at Cheltenham. In one of the handicaps of probably the Fred Winter. And Zaccone Rebel absolutely destroyed this at Fontwell. So what did I do? Next time out, I put the feelers out. I made sure that my opinion was right. Toby Laws told my chap that 124 vastly underrated this horse. So I had the lot on at Huntingdon. What happened? He got beat. He was second to a reasonable horse. Redneck Gallop. It was good ground at Huntingdon that day. He was just swamped for a little bit of turf. Now he's up to 2 miles 3. The deeper ground will suit. I can tell that from the action. He won well at Ludlow last time, pulling a cart. He's better than this mark. Of course he is. He's a lot better than this mark. But so has Captain Mathan of Paul Nicholson. But that's the bounce factor. Good Risk at All also will improve the favourite in the race. But his jumping technique is a lot to be desired. He improved last time, but he's still got work to do to be taking sort of 15-8, 7-4. I think that's a very poor price for a horse that might not jump that well. So Zaccone Rebel for the each way thieves. Thieves. This is what we can do of thieves. 11-2 each way, 1.5 points each way. That's my pleasure. Thank you. John Lane, your best bet.
I am so far down the road to Doncaster. I can smell the unchanged fat in the fryer at the Crown Inn at Bawtry. I've actually had words with my variant snout this week, believe it or not.
Oh, he's the good one. John has got the best variant snout I've seen, by the way. Yeah, I agree.
The reason I had words with him was because of the horse running in the 5:30 at Newcastle, which I happen to think is quite a decent tool. That's called Aiden. That's not the tip. It's odds on and is confidently expected to win en route to something like the Newmarket Stakes early season.
Yeah.
But the tip itself is a horse that's been leading it up as it's prepped for this. A horse called Tinker Toy, who runs in the 420 at Lingfield.
All right.
This is a 5-year-old that they've persisted with, and they've had him cut since last year. Ought to make him more tractable. He was a little bit fresh chain going on occasion earlier in his career. He managed to win first time up at Newcastle last year. And then he had a bit of a problem over his next two starts. There was a little niggle surface to the immediate second run, and they thought they'd sorted it, and they hadn't. So he hasn't been seen since July last year. It's not a problem that he hasn't run since then. He's fit enough for this, and as I say, he's been leading up some reasonable horses, we think, at the yard. It's quite well thought of as though he's going to have a good season. He's rated in the 90s, the Recknick, and not 100 this year. So we're going with 3 points win.
3 points win on the nose. Tinker Toy for the variant team. By the way, John, in this race, because we're not covering it on the previews, I was very against the Appleby horse, Whittle of Woods. Inside draw. Little bit jadey, if you ask me. I think he's been scrambling home against Lesser. No idea why they put him in 5. I know, like, the form's okay, a sort of slightly lesser level, but I think your Nap's got a lot of legs there at 7-2. That's my favourite selection so far. 3 points on the noggin, 7-2, bang. I don't think he'll get 7-2 tomorrow, so hopefully people will listen to it before it's 5-2. That's the name of the game. Right. So that's John's best bet. So now it's the two national hunt gurus to come to now, and I'm going to come to Adam first for your best bet.
Right, okay. Well, just nodded off there, listening to you two talk crapping on about that racing. Right, where were we? Right, 2:13 at Wincanton. This I can't see getting beat. It's Flagrant de l'Etiep, trained by Robert Walford. He is a fantastic jumper of a fence. Was on a roll last season, winning twice, including once here. Was second twice here as well at Wincanton. Very slow to get going this season, off higher marks. But 3 weeks ago, returned to form at this track behind Dorking Lad. I thought that was a really nice outing, and suggested that his turn was just around the corner. So he's a 7-year-old back on softer ground. I think he'll jump them stupid. The only problem that I have with this is Jamie Moore riding for the first time. You either love him or hate him. I can't stand him. Hands of stone. But even he can't get this beat, I don't think, anyway. So Flagrant de l'Etiep. There's only 5 others in the race, and I think they're all up against it, to be honest. So that is the nap of the week.
Fantastic, yeah. So Flagrant de l'Etiep, that's 9-4.
Bit short. If we can get 9-4 on the show, we'll be going all in.
Do you know what? Do you know what? 9-4 doesn't seem bad. There's a few bad ones in there. Port of Mars is the biggest weird entity that's ever lived in national hunt racing. In the past he's put up performances that just dazzle the eye, and then the next performance he would win a selling hurdle.
Yeah. No, I fancied him at Hereford when he dotted up, and it looked like he was going places, and then looks like he's got wind issues and has done nothing this season. So we need to wait before he puts his best foot forward again.
Yeah, good nap, Adam. So that's Adam's nap in the 2:13 at Wincanton. No each way wankering from Adam at all, despite my 2 each ways. John's 1 each way. Andy Richmond so far has not buckled, but will he buckle now?
Yes.
No, don't think so.
Oh, I've shamed him into it. Come on, Andy.
No, you haven't shamed me into it.
Come on, Andy.
Just to sort of price it out. At least I'm not putting 9-4 chances.
Yes, that's it. You tell him, Andy. You tell him.
You can't eat value, can you? Anyhow, we're going to Haydock again. 3:15, Potemps qualifier. One of those where not everyone's going to get in. And a race that sees last year's winner, Bushy Park. He's returning from having taken this race last year. He should put a bit of pace to the race. In fact, last year he won this off 120, having completed a hurdling 5-timer by an 8.5 length margin. But I think he's got a tough task this time, off the mark of 132. Small Present probably brings the best form into the race, but he only narrowly beat Tokyo Getaway last time out. And I really do think that a Small Present was a bit lucky to get away with it last time out, because he actually hit 40 in running. He's 2 from 2 over this course, but I think Tokyo Getaway can reverse this form. I'm quite a big fan of Charlotte Jones as a rider. I think she's pretty good, actually. And this mare won over hurdles and fences for Gavin Cromwell. Done absolutely cliche time, nothing wrong in 2 runs for the Muffet Yard as well. And it might just be that having Bushy Park and maybe 1 or 2 others in the race might just allow her to be ridden a little bit more conservatively on this occasion. £2 better off a half a length. That's probably not going to matter. I think just the way she travels throughout a race, will enjoy the conditions, and probably more likely to get the run of the race than Small Present this time, who I thought probably got away with it a bit last time out. Although if you are playing him running, don't write him off and don't start pushing the pink button at big prices, because you could get your arse bitten. Tamar Bridge was a little bit disappointing last time out. He's got to bounce back. Bill Baxter, I'm pretty sure Adam would have seen run at Catterick last time out. Wasn't particularly impressed with him. Alnor Optimised Prime. Flash Jack's getting a bit old. You could bottle out and go 1.5 points each way here on Tokyo Getaway with 4 places, but I'm not going to. 3 points on the nose, 9-2. Tokyo Getaway for Charlotte Jones and Jimmy Moffat.
Bang. So you've heard it there first. 3 points win. Tokyo Getaway, pressured by Adam Norman. Disgraceful pressure there. You know, like this on our pundit, it's just terrible. Adam Norman, it's just terrible. You know, we wheel him away from pinching the. You know, that we could run to 4 places with Skybet and Coral. You know, those accounts you can get on with. You know.
Well, I couldn't get on with them, so I certainly feel a bit embarrassed putting them up, actually. But and we've forgotten the last time I was on the nice win from Birchdale, 6-1. Thank you very much. That was an each way wanker bet, actually. So you know, apologies.
Absolutely, a very impressive winner in Ireland for Andy.
He was actually, yeah.
And a well landed touch by the green and gold. But yeah, Tokyo Getaway then for Andy. We wish him well at 9-2 on the nose. So Adam Norman could be hero or villain here, because he's forced everyone bar me into win bets. And, you know, we're all going to be in Clover, or like finishing second, third, and going, fucking Adam Norman. Anyway, on to the TV races. And the thing is, we might only get Ascot on TV tomorrow. Generally due to the weather, but who knows? We might end up with Haydock and Wincanton. Who knows? We'll see. So okay, we'll go the 150 race, and me and John have touched on this with regards to our selections. Annual Invictus, Chris Gordon for me, and Fernhill for John. So I'd be interested to see you two National Hunt, certainly experts, give your analysis on the 150 at Ascot, please, Adam and Adam.
I've just watched that Plumpton race, Lee.
Yeah.
And I disagree.
Okay.
With your analysis.
Good. I like this.
I thought he looked very moody, actually. He jumped that fence after the winning line, and then just looked like he was hanging, or I don't know what that was about, because he's looked a very straightforward animal until then. I know he pulled up previously, but before that he was a model of consistency, winning bundles of races, wasn't he, at a decent level? That just shows that, I don't know, 2 races running queer like that, and they were very Elixir, the Nuts, and is it Nasalam? They finished very slow. So without looking at the splits, I don't know. That's just such a queer form line. I don't know what to make of it. I'm not surprised they've reached for some headgear, to be honest, mate. I thought this was a super, super tricky race. I can't imagine that. Why you'd want to bet in a race like this. You've got about 3 front runners: Jay Foy, Duzino, Bass, Fernhill likes to go on. A couple of Northern Raiders. I mean, Corach Rambler, that's a funny sort of strangely campaign coming from that marathon race at Warwick into a Grade 2. It's a nice horse, but I'm not a particularly big fan of the way they've campaigned. I just thought this was double tricky, and I'm going to swerve it like the plague.
Yeah, fair points.
Good luck, lads.
Yeah,
Good
fair
luck,
analysis.
team.
So there you go. Adam Norman.
I'm a layer. I'm a layer.
Adam Norman has done scat all over my bet. So now we come to Andy.
Well, I suppose, I mean, in a way, it sort of might be one for sort of potential Cheltenham clues. There have been 3 winners that have gone on to win this, to what is now, well, it's now the Brown Advisory, what we'd all know as the RSA. I have to keep looking up what these races are called now. The Turn.
I know. Yes.
Jesus Christ! If they keep changing them, I'm just going to be. Why don't we just, at least with the hurdles, you know what the potato race is. Albert Bartlett. Thank you very much. Every year. But I mean, it is tricky. I must admit, I'm not a massive fan of Correct Rambler, who they stuck the tone time first time. I agree with Adam. He's been very strangely campaigned. I think the horse is a bit quirky. I've watched his races back. Even that race at Aintree that he won, he didn't travel that well early on. And as we've pointed out, if you don't travel at Ascot early on, it's sometimes hard to get in the race. And I'm not particularly sure about does he know either. He looks to me had more quirks than Correct Rambler. He's right towards the front of the Ultima market as well. And he's got to carry a penalty in this. He's got 97 days off. Have they got one eye on the Ultima? He looks a similar sort of profile to Happy Go Lucky, who they finished second with last year. That seems to be the sort of same campaign. I can't see him being good enough for anything like the Brown Advisory. If I had to have a stab, I came down on the side of Doyen Breed. But it'd be a very nominal selection. I mean, the strongest trend is that 14 of the last 19 winners won last time out. But none of this lot have.
I think it's a poor race for the grade.
And it's a poor race for the grade. And I think it has been. If you look back at a few of the past winners, when horses like the Wester Wake, Kildimo, Bobsworth, it was a decent contest then. Whereas in recent years, it's been a bit of a non-event, really.
Yeah, no, fair comment. Like you say, it's one of those races where if anyone has a fancy, you'd sort of like want to crib it. You'd want to go. You want to go. Well, I'm not sure about that, and that probably explains the 7-2 the field.
It's one of those races where you look through it, and my way of looking at things is I always start sort of back to front. Most people start looking what can win a race. I'm looking what can't win a race, and I looked at all this lot and thought, yeah, I could put a question mark against or a red line through all of them.
I think I prefer John's angle that Fernhill is probably a little bit overlooked coming from a smaller yard, and but nevertheless has got some decent form. Fernhill might be the one that's sort of overpriced.
If you were looking for a trading angle, and then I'd probably be trying to look to lay Correct Rambler at, I don't know, 4-1's a bit juicy, but and back in running, because I don't think the thing travels particularly well early on in a race. Beyond that.
But that might set if you've got a load of 3 front runners, that might set it up.
It might do. If you want to describe the race, it's a mess.
I'll just avoid it like the plague. I think tipping in a race like this is for
Johnny. Johnny, it's like me. Andy's just described me and you, John, a mess.
That's only after a few gins.
Yeah, there's been a few. Right, so we'll move on to the 225. It's a listed handicap chase, the Swinleys, whatever that is, what it used to be known. Don't know. And obviously, I've tipped in this, so I'm going to say
another one to take down.
Yeah, another one here that you can slag me off for my terrible selection. So it's Andy, Adam, and John. Go for it.
I like this horse actually, Lee, and you mentioned he beat Fiddler on the Roof as a novice, and people were talking. That was in the November of last season, and people were talking about Cheltenham, and why not? It was a very, very impressive performance, but he didn't seem to take to Ascot on a couple on his next outing, and he sort of lost his way a bit. I think 3 miles could be the making of him, to be honest. He's just been so inconsistent. It's whether he's going to run to a similar level, back to back. But I actually agree wholeheartedly that he's still well handicapped and he is overpriced. I thought the other one that was interesting at a price was Fortescue actually, which sort of surprised me. Yes. I surprised myself by mentioning that, but he's just built up a really consistent profile, generally speaking, and again, I just think he's the type that people sort of overlook a bit. He's 5 from 13 over fences, which is a really good strike rate. I know Andy's big on strike rates. You still love that one.
Because you are on each way betting.
So he's won 5 and he's been placed in 5 out of 13 chases. I think that's commendable, and he's 8, so he could well be sort of in his prime. And I just thought 11-12 to 1 Fortescue was quite interesting there.
Worth a look. Yeah. No, fair comment. Andy Richmond, coming to you on this.
Oh, I'm not against strike rates. It's putting them in context that I'm against.
Yeah, and I'm teasing you, Andy.
Yeah, I know you are, and I'm just making. I'm just making that point. There was one quoted on RTV this afternoon about Keith Dalglish's strike rate in bumpers. He had the favourite in the last. Yeah. Well, that's all well and good. It's a 20% strike rate, and the horse
they're all hot favourite.
The horse went and won. But what wasn't placed in context was that the last 3 he'd had that were debutant short price bumper runners had all been stuffed out of sight. And I think that would have been a more pertinent point to make. So it's sort of context I was putting in. It's I agree with Adam here. I thought Fortescue, who was actually in the Grand National, he was entered in that Grand National trial at Haydock, and they pulled him out here to run him here. I think he's a bit sort of forgotten, isn't he? Very sort of consistent sort of horse. Fiddler on the Roof, he's probably quite rightly favourite, but that Hennessy form, Ladbrokes Trophy, as is now, is terrible this year. There's been 1 winner from 30 runners out of it, and that was the 8th home fullback who won next time out, and that's been the only one that's won out of it. So I'm not convinced about that form. As say, asked me early, maybe off to Wincanton. Caribbean Boy, I certainly wouldn't be laying that. Hold That Talk, possibly last time out the course didn't suit you. What about the old boy, Regal Encore? Loves it round here, doesn't he? I mean, you couldn't realistically leave him out. He has won off a mark of 150 round here. He's 140, but I know he's not getting any younger, but he does seem to love this place. A push. It's not a race I'd want to get heavily involved with. I wouldn't be with Fiddler on the Roof at around 3 to 1. I'd have a couple of token stabs, maybe Fortescue and even Regal Encore for a place. I
think that's fair. I just like the shape of the race with Fiddler. I think Hold That Tour has got loads to prove, frankly, with 2 blowouts. Asked me earlier, I'd probably prefer to see him go to Wincanton. I think he's a nice horse, but again, he's got a question to ask because he was injured prior to Chepstow.
Yeah.
I don't know how bad. Well, obviously it wasn't too bad, but he's obviously been off for a fair while. So there's a chunk out the front end there, which
you could even make an argument for Cobo Lobo being overpriced at the moment on his second here last time out, although it has pushed him back up to a mark that he's probably going to struggle off.
He's a bit in and out for me.
Yeah, very in and out. Whereas Fortescue, double figure price, he's quite solid, really.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, we'll move on. 3 o'clock. We're coming to the Dingley's Promise Handicap Hurdle. I've tipped in this as a Coney Rebel. What do you guys think on this?
I can see why you've gone for him, Lee. It's not a race I'd want to play in. I could have gone all blogger here and gone Good Risk It All. I thought the second that I take what you said about him not jumping particularly well at Warwick last time out, but they dawdled round in that. And I think if they go a decent pace in him, his jumping is getting better. And I thought he was a bit unlucky last time out. I read a couple of sort of analysis reports. One was very positive and one thought he dogged it last time out. I didn't think he dogged it. I just didn't think he's a bit inexperienced, didn't get the run of the race. And I still think if you look at his bumper form, he's incredibly well handicapped. And you'd find it hard push to say many of these are well handicapped in this. I can understand why you've taken Zarkoni Rebel, with them play it the way you have. I suppose the most interesting one is how easy the run Easy's Land's going to get on a run round at the back, probably, or the alleged run round at the back. But I wouldn't be playing in the race. Good Risk It All at 2 to 1. I wouldn't be interested in it, but I think he's the most likely winner.
Yeah. Adam?
I think we need to talk about Toby Laws at some stage. I think I don't know where he's come from or what his background is, but he seems to know the time of day, as they say.
Yes. Wasn't he an assistant to Nicky Henderson?
Was he from the Henderson factory? That doesn't surprise me at all. I like the stamp of horse that he tends to buy. Capo Toy, Canapolis ran the other day, and he had a nice one off the flat that won at Donny called Geometrical. Anyway, I think Lee's made a perfectly cogent case for Zaccone Rebel, and I've got nothing much against it. Ballybeg was probably one of the more interesting ones with Dara McConneville, or whatever his name is.
Does he still claim 10, Lee?
For riding for Kerry, and another one back over hers last time, ground out a victory. If it does get really boggy there, I can see that one bouncing out and getting on a roll down Swinley bottom and coming home quite strong, especially because they tend to go from the front and just let them spin out, don't they? These Kerry Lee gallopers, so he could set the race up, but he's probably a little bit open to one with more progress, like as a Coney Rebel or Good Risk at all.
Yeah, and Ascot can suit that bounce out. So, it can work out like that over hurdles and fences. Yeah. Right, I'll move on to the 338, the obviously the Coral Chase. John, I'm coming to you first on the big race of Ascot. Have you got any views here?
I think the betting's right.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I mean...
I don't think there's an obvious angle, really. I think Fakir Doderi is probably the best horse. Would I want to back him at the price? Probably not.
No, I just think he's jumping. If Fakir Darius gets it right and gets in a rhythm, I think he's probably the only winner. But there's a big question mark over that, because if you make howlers round Ascot, what Andy said and what we've all said on this show, that you kind of struggle to get into a race because it is all about rhythm. It's all about just getting in that rhythm, popping the fences nicely.
I'm not a big fan of Mark Walsh, to be honest.
No, I agree. I mean, Catherine in your cellar is certainly not a fan. And I know where you're coming from.
I didn't know he was in the cellar with her.
Well, I mean, that's it these days. We have to take what we can get.
If John gets a chance, Venetia will be down there in the cellar with Catherine.
Yes, Venetia will be straight up the fucking stairs. No man in the cellar, mate.
She had a magnificent hat on at Hereford the other day. Magnificent. The wind was ruffling it just nicely. It was one of these like Russian jobs.
The hat off. Don't worry about that.
Did she look like a pheasant plucker?
the hat and the hat and the knee-length boots would be fine for John, I think.
That'd just be that'd be the sole outfit, wouldn't it?
No, there's the tweed suspender belt as well.
Oh, right. Yeah, fair enough.
Yep.
Anyway, Fanny and Destraval must have some sort of chance if he gets into a rhythm. I don't like his jumping, to be honest. I think I've mentioned it before. I think he'd win the Stayers Hurdle, but unfortunately, it won stylishly again at the start of the season over fences, and so they've kept him that way.
I don't think he got a good ride last time out.
No, but I mean, you can blame. You can't blame Lucy Turner for going when she did. It was just she's inexperienced, and it worked out that way, and it just fell into the lap of that Ponzi Phoenix way. It was one of them things. If you were on it, you were just sick as a parrot. To
redress the balance on Lucy Turner, I thought somebody was very critical of her ride at Chambard at Ludlow, who was a real pig. And I
that's rubbish. That's totally unfair.
She did well to get the thing into second, and then the other day did well to win on it at Fontwell as well.
She's a very useful. She's a good jockey, but it just was one of those things at Ascot when things just didn't fall right. And it was, she's just inexperienced for an Ascot Saturday handicap. If you back a horse ridden by Miss L. Turner, you get what you pay for, lads.
Quite right.
Yeah, that's the way it is. But Fanian's a good horse. I just don't like the way it jumps. It's a classic ex-French jumper that jumps low, and it lacks a bit of scope. And when push comes to shove, it has to go left or right, to put in an extra jump. and that will keep it from being top class. So I don't fancy it. I wouldn't fancy it at all in this grade tomorrow. But I think it's far too open. Things like you can back Mr. Fisher, Lost in Translation. You can make a case for Dasher is just a fantastic horse. Do you just want it on your side in the trenches? I think it's a good race to watch.
Yeah, I mean, just to finish off this race, Drasher for me, I thought the price at 13-2. Jeremy Scott was 1 from 51, May to November, couldn't train a winner. He was awful. And then since December, 12 from 65. And Drasher's back to his haunt where he's 4 from 5. And I just think conditions are ideal for him. And 13-2. In running players especially, I think you'll get an absolutely dream run for your money at that price. Right, we'll move on to the meetings that might not go ahead, but we'll cover them anyway. Just briefly, I suppose, guys, due to time-wise, 205, the Rendlesham Hurdle. I was siding with Third Wind and Topville Ben under the conditions. Thomas Darby, I felt was a good to soft ground horse, and Molly Ollie's Wishes. Despite in good heart, I did feel Third Wind and Topville Ben had the edge, and I can't believe the prices at 4s and 8s. What do you think on this?
I totally agree.
Yeah, Andy?
I couldn't back Thomas Darby. I think he's got more quirks than a quirky thing actually. His finishing effort's been called into question on more occasions than I would care to mention. I think he sort of fell into a race. I wouldn't have him. Molly Ollie's Wishes has been back now. I can't see a lot of value in that. Third Wind, is he in the greatest of form? I think, Topville Ben is, he's a big price, isn't he?
Yes, 8-1. Yeah.
He's if you look at his chasing form, it was pretty smart. He was well placed to win over 2-7 at Lingfield last time out. And that was his first run over hurdles in Britain since 2018. He did have a run in hurdles out in France. It's just that sort of horse who could get a bit of a soft lead here. And a bit like Ascot around Haydock, if you get in a good rhythm round there, it's plenty sharp enough round there, that hurdles track, and he might get away for them. I wouldn't write Holstone off either. I know he's run his best form at Cheltenham, but he's got a good record of when he was fresh. He's won off breaks of 306, 196 and 173 days. I think he'll enjoy the conditions. I mean, the front end of the market is short enough. I wouldn't put it in. If you're going to throw a couple of quid at the race, Topville Ben and Holstone at the prices. Yeah,
no, good stuff. It's a tricky race, but like you say, I think we're all against Thomas Darby by the sounds of that. 240, the Grand National Trial. I thought Bristol de Mai was interesting. I mean, the prices have gone now. It was 10-1, now 11-2. But I just think, to discount him around his favourite haunt, he's a little bit dangerous, because I don't really see that he's done with quite just yet. But it is a very competitive race. Do respect Andy's selection, Sam Brown. Black Lions also ran well recently. Thoughts, Adam, John?
I had a fairly good scope through this race, and the first thought that came into my head was, do you get a lot more blowjobs if your surname's Honeyballs? By nature of the fact women are naturally curious.
Yeah.
Is that the first thing that came to your mind, John?
The second thought was that Sam Brown had a week longer than Royal Pagel after their epic encounter here.
Yeah.
So he ought to have a big chance coming here if he's in the same form. I thought the Welsh national favourite, Sacred Reprieve, was rather disappointing at Chepstow. He went limp quicker than John Inman on the day. He's got questions to answer for me. And I did think if I was targeting the national with time to get up, there's no way on God's green earth he'd be running in this so close to the national. So I'd definitely be going with Sam Brown, I think.
Oh, good stuff. Right, okay, so we'll move on to our final.
I was just about to get stuck in there, Lee, but there you go.
Sorry, Adam. I'm not. No, go on. You can do it.
I've not got much to add to it. I thought I came down on the line that it was just a bit too tricky. The Galloping Bear was interesting at a double figure price early in the week. There's been money for it this evening. and it's a bit short for me considering that it's got class issues to prove. N-Card, who won here a couple of months ago, I thought was quite interesting at a bigger price, but again, he's got class to prove against some quality horses.
Did he stay in this race last year when he was 5th?
I just think he's a year older. He's only 8 now. You have a fair point. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest, and that's why I didn't really have a play. I worry about Sam Brown's fragility, to be honest. He's I mean we've been there, haven't we? Too tricky for me. I'd like to watch it, and it'd be great to see Bristol win. Even Black Lion still isn't necessarily handicapped out of it. So double tricky for me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all right. We move on to the Kingwell, which is the feature race there at Wincanton if it goes ahead. Goshen Adagio in a match bet, guys. Tough one, this.
No view for me.
I honestly don't really have a view, to be honest with you. Goshen is a horse I know a lot of people have warmed to, but I never really have. I probably prefer Adagio, but he's coming back here off a bit of a break and possibly an injury as well. I thought he might be quite interested in the Champion Hurdle at one stage. It's a sit and watch race for me, and hopefully they've got the tree off the track.
I think on reflection, Lee, looking back at last 2 weeks ago, that was the time to bet Goshen at some sort of value against horses that had it to prove over 2 miles on ground that wasn't that soft at the time. We thought Song for Someone might have a chance, but never got anywhere, never landed any kind of blow. Guard Your Dreams, I don't think is as good a horse as these sorts of graded races. And now you've got sort of recency bias into the price of Goshen, and for me, it's not the type of horse I'd want to be taking very short prices about.
John,
I think if you're the type of bloke who needs to back Goshen at that price, and you haven't given your girlfriend a month on the game to test the water, you really need to be having a word with yourself. Yeah.
John, as this is a show about wankers, is you describe Goshen?
Goshen is an equine wanker. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to prove that tomorrow. I've got a feeling he's going to prove that again tomorrow, John, to be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest.
Yeah. A fascinating race, but that might not go ahead. Equine wankers, each way wankers, we've got it all on this show, and that's a fitting way to end, to be fair. If you haven't checked out the Bar Stewards website, please do, because we've got Quentin Franks with his all-weather each-way musings. I was about 6 way musings. Can you believe it?
Don't drag
this is Adam Norman. This is the power of Adam Norman. It gets in your brain. So, all-weather musings from Quentin Franks. Also, my articles on the single customer view, which is very important for racing. Give them a look. Part 1 and Part 2 is out. Part 3 will be out next Wednesday, when I'm quite scathing, and I might get sued by Jeff Banks. But but apart from that, everything's good here. Myself, John Lang, Andy Norman, and...
I've been called that a few times.
That's the gin. Andy Richmond, Adam Norman. We're all going off now for a big circle jerk. That's all from us. Bye for now.